Hi guys, Pam again from the Woolly Dragon. So this is just a little intro to introduce the rest of this video. This is actually part 2 of the video that I posted on Friday the 14th. That was actually filmed on April 5th. Keeping all these dates straight, oh my lord. But the film clips after this are from April 11th, if that makes any difference. So it's about 4 days later, and just wanted to say that you're going to see later on in the video that I'm talking about putting the clips that I've already posted with the clips that are posting now together to make like an hour-long video. I decided against that, obviously. So this is essentially part 2 of the garden tour. And if nothing, you can go back and look at both of these and just kind of compare and contrast. It's not exactly the same. I'm not going the same directions and the same places and all that kind of stuff, all in the same order or anything like that. But you can kind of see how things are just growing. Springtime is here. And I also know that I talk about the back deck a lot. So I wanted to show you a couple of the things I have growing on the back deck too. So enjoy. Okay, so these are seedlings that I have had in the house on my little rack that's inside with the little grow lights. And I've got a heating mat and all that kind of stuff. These guys, got a couple of different things. Zinnias, dill and fennel and some flowers. Got more dahlias that I've grown from seed this year. Those are 4 o'clocks. I've got some, these are my tomatoes with some brassicas. My brassicas got zotted out. A couple of peppers. These are butterfly peas. That's so far, oop, I got another one coming up. So I planted 6 of them, and so far only 2 are coming up. So I'm gonna have to watch these little guys. But I got very interested in doing butterfly peas because I've been hearing things about other YouTubers. These are peppers and basil in the bottom there, and then some eggplants to go along with it. And then these are my 2 figs. These are Celeste figs that I got off of FigBid last September, I want to say. And look at this little one. She's trying to put out little figs. Got to pick those off here in a second. And so I need to get these guys planted in the ground, or at least in a bigger pot, because they're starting to get a little stressed out. I have to water them a lot to keep them going. So this is just my little back deck. I have a nice little commanding view. Hayfield, the raised beds and the honeybees. And then when I come back here in a couple of weeks, there's going to be explosions of green that isn't there right now. I get to see my neighbor's pond, which is nice. Got my one of my little planters has got some thyme that's flowering right now, and the sage that's about to flower. And that's my little bay tree that I've been growing for 5 or 6 years. I'm trying to keep it going. Every once in a while I'll leave it out when it's getting super cold, and then come back and it's like, okay, you're dead, but then it pokes out this, so it's got some new growth to it. Here's Mr. Dragon, one of my statuaries. Here are the seedlings from the Meyer lemon seed experiment that I had posted earlier. I still have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 of them. There's a couple of them. This one right here is not taking off very well. And then this one keeps getting sun scald, but the others keep doing okay. So I may elect to discard a couple of these. This is a little plum seedling that I grew from plum that I had gotten at an orchard last fall. In between here are my rosemary cuttings. That's my little phenomenal lavender cutting. And then more of my mulberry cuttings that are all looking bedraggled. I need to get them into bigger pots. And then over here, these are my pawpaw seedlings that are starting to come up. So if I keep going, I may have more fruit trees than I have room and acreage for. But yeah, so I come out here. I want to get, oh, and there's the damage from one of the windstorms we had earlier back in March. My dad has to bring over the taller ladder because it's really far up. But yeah, I'd love to be able to get a little bench out here and just come out here with a little, you know, bench or a recliner or something like that and just kind of sit out here, read a book, listen to the birds. Because on the front of the house faces the actual street and there's more kids and all that kind of stuff. Not that I have anything against kids, but it's nice not to hear screaming all the time sometimes. Dun, dun, dun. So that's the bird's eye view. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of this video, guys. Thanks. Hey guys, this is Pam doing an update from what I had shot last week. This is one of my little grafted apple trees. It's got a pink lady, or Crispin's pink apple, I think it's also called. Blooming away, still in its little pot. I need to get it planted. That little apple tree right there is an actual apple tree seedling. And then right next to it, from the same exact time, that one's not doing as well. So I think I know that this one is probably more okay than that one. This little guy over here, that is an apple tree that I grafted from an extension, UT extension class that I did last year. The only problem is I forgot to write down the variety. So it's a mystery tree. I know it's one of 4, so we'll see. At least we have it kind of. Some more things. This is a rosé type grape that does actually seem to be budding out. I was thinking maybe it didn't make it through the winter, but it seems to be trying. These are a couple of redbud seedlings that are not budding out. My own fault for not getting them planted. And this is a little pecan tree that this little side shoot may be coming back. The main thing may be totally dead. I don't know. And then here's my little blueberry that I got at Walmart a few weeks ago. It's growing. I'm obviously not getting blueberries this year. And look, one of my dianthuses that I've had forever is starting to bloom. Yay! That's my golden marguerite. And that little patch there is my butterfly bush. Every so often I have to totally cut back my butterfly bush. I did it a couple years ago, I think, because it was just getting too long and lanky. Wasn't looking pretty anymore, even with the flowers on it. And so I cut it back, and then this year it just, the really cold spell that we had at Christmas time just really just wrecked it, I guess. This is my little Vitex Negundo. It is also starting to bud out, so we'll be having flowers on this that the bees love, probably starting in June or so. strawberries in my little horse trough planter. I don't remember if I've ever done a video on this thing. So talk about, you know, reduce, recycle, reuse, all that kind of good stuff. So this is a horse trough that I used back when I had horses, and it comes on this nice stand. It's fairly deep, maybe 10 inches deep. So I have my dad put holes in the bottom, which was very nice of him. And so I just put potting soil in it. Currently it's got strawberries, and so we're starting to get some flowers, which is a good thing. And last year I also had a really good crop of Johnny jump ups come up in here. I have since put in compost on top, so I don't know how many of the Johnny jump ups will come back, but they're all over the place. They'll be good. And this is my little herb bed. The thyme, oops, shadows, sun's going down. So this is a little thyme that I need to cut back. Let's see. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of green stuff coming up in there. So next time I have the readiness, I will get in there and do some judicious pruning. And this is sage that I grew from seed. I just planted it because the sage that was in here died. Lavender that did survive the winter. So this one's actually neat and tidy, so I'm good with that. And then this little poor thing, this was where I had one of several of my rosemary plants that just did not survive the winter. They all died. So I've got a few transplants. I took cuttings from my biggest rosemary, and I'll get it planted in here in a couple of days ago. I need to get it acclimated to being outside first. And on the other side of this bed, you've got a mix of daffodils that they're already spent. The flowers are already dead and dying off. And then I've got some irises coming after it, interspersed amongst. So I have a little space right in here, but the golden marguerite kind of gets pretty big. So I'm contemplating planting other kinds of bulbs here for spring, so they can die back and go back underground like the daffodils do, and not worry about them being overshadowed. Walking, walking, walking. Another herb bed. This one is a combination of black-eyed Susan here in the front end, bee balm, some sage that's about to go to flower. I don't cook a lot with sage, so I don't worry so much about keeping the flowers picked off because the bees really like it. More thyme over here, both creeping thyme and regular culinary thyme. And the lemon balm is stretching over here. And I've got this blank spot here that I had garlic chives in. I don't really know if they're going to come back or not, but I've got a spot here. I think I've got a cutting from my phenomenal lavender that I took last fall. I may put it in this spot so it can kind of do its thing. And then over here, this is my Greek oregano that's starting to come back. Yay! Okay, so this is my mint bed. It's a little 4x4 plastic planter that goes with its sister planter over there. I've had this thing going since 2015, and it is really heavy duty. I think my mom got this at Sam's at some point and sent it over here, but What is the thing? Well, it does say lifetime on it, so I guess they really meant it. So this is a combination of, there is a lime mint, there's a mint called peaches and cream. I had one on one side of the bed, one on the other side of the bed, and you can kind of see how they've kind of intermingled now. So this is why we say keep your mint segregated from everything else. And there's a teeny tiny little patch of lemon balm in here that keeps persisting. And then at some point, there are some gladiola bulbs over in this section that will make an appearance and be beautiful. So anyone tells you, well, I hope so at least. I had gladiolas for quite a while, and I mistakenly left a few in this bed, and they keep coming back. So yeah, don't have people tell you that you have to dig things up like tulips and gladiolas and things like that. You may lose some, but you don't necessarily have to. So this is my little drift rose. This thing is doing really well. Very proud of him. I have had to transplant this rose 3 times now. This has been here for, this will be its 3rd year, I believe, and it just keeps plugging away. It has these nice little simple single petal, like almost like an old-fashioned type rose bush. It's maybe get 18 inches high, and it's kind of spreads out. No scent to it, but it's a good, drift rose. So this bed has some black-eyed Susans, violets, as you can see around the base of the rose, and there's German chamomile in here that looks like it's coming back. But this bed looks kind of sparse. Things that don't come back, I will put in annuals to kind of supplement. So I got 2 plantings here. This spot that looks like a cow patty, but is not. This was a rose that I planted last year that I covered with some compost when we had a cold spell to try and keep any kill back. It wasn't doing well. I actually basically whacked it off to the base, and it may not be the exact rose that I bought, but it's okay because I don't remember what the rose was. So if it comes back, it comes back. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Got some daffodils. These are part of the daffodils that I found in my basement, the bulbs that I went ahead and just planted. So they'll make a nice little addition next spring. This little beauty with its little nightcap on is a newly planted rose that I just put in the ground. What are you? Stiletto rose that I got from Witherspoon Rose Culture, I believe is the full name of the place. So still got those early red leaves. And basically what I've done with this guy, and I've got another rose I'll show you in a minute. These are just little baskets I got them at Dollar Tree, and this one has a solid bottom, so, and it just fits nicely over this, and basically it's there just kind of to kind of shade out the really harsh sun. Here in the next couple days, when it looks like it's doing okay, I'll remove it for good. But we're having such blindingly blue skies these last several days, and we're not supposed to be getting any rain until like Friday or so and get cloudy again. So I just don't want them to get sunburned and decide it wants to die on me. Another patch of comfrey. This one, I can't remember what that is supposed to be. Doesn't look too good. I think it got touched by the frost. Let's see what you... Wow, I don't know what that is. Agastache, maybe? Possibly. Alright, so ye old compost bin, looking very bedraggled. This is all the stuff that didn't overwinter in their pots. I tossed everything onto the pile, kitchen. So there's old soil, I'll throw grass clippings on there. I do have this composter, the tumbler one, and I have made compost in it before, but it doesn't do a whole lot at a time, and it takes so long, even when you come out here and make sure, check the dampness and tumble it and all that kind of stuff. It still takes a little too much time for me, so maybe I'll turn it into a beehive. Probably not. Hi, Mama. This is a little bed that I made out of an old compost pile that I just threw stuff down into, that I cleaned out really well, put a little edging around to kind of help with weed whacking and mowing. Planted it with some more daffodil bulbs. There's another golden marguerite in here, and then a little apple tree seedling that I planted last fall. It's one of the ones that I grafted, one of the mystery apple trees. Wish I knew which one it was, but it'll be a surprise. And so I don't know if everyone knows about these things. So these are white plastic food grade barrels that you can buy. You can get them that are the white, or you can get them with blue, maybe other colors, but the white and the blue are pretty much what we get around here. And so we bought some, and they've held up really well. So these guys are going on, let's see, I've been in this house for 8 years. So yeah, these guys have been around for at least 10 years. And so you cut them in half longitudinally, going around the equator. So you have 2 of them. And then you drill holes in the bottom, or you can drill holes at the very bottom and the sides to let excess water out. And then plant stuff. So this one's got elderberry. That one's got an elderberry. I've got a couple over there closest to the car that have hibiscus in them. The one in the kind of the closest to the camera, it had some herbs, again, the rosemary that just totally died and stuff like that. So I just pulled everything out of there, threw the dead stuff on the burn pile, and I'm going to refresh the soil. I'm probably going to move that one because it's kind of in an awkward place. So I'll probably move that one to another place, but I haven't figured out where yet. And then of course put new soil in there. So yeah, so this is my little compost bin. It's ugly. I need to have more than just the one. It gets absolutely no turning whatsoever because I don't really have anything to turn it into. It has the added benefit or detriment that grass will grow up between the slats, but I'm not going to worry about it. So the twin of my mint bed over here, this was primarily asparagus. I have since moved some of the crowns to a different bed, just to give it a little bit more room to groove kind of deal. I planted strawberries in there because strawberries and asparagus really do well together. There's a teeny tiny little thyme plant that's trying to make a go for it. And then these are gladiola startings going up here. Little patch of daylilies that I found somewhere out. I guess one of the cats was digging in a bed and dug up one of the crowns of the daylilies, so I just stuck it in here, and we'll see. Okay, so this is a little bed that I made out of stacking these 4x4. They're 6 feet long. I stacked 3 of them on top of each other to make almost a 4-foot bed. It's not quite filled up to there. And then for the ends, I just nailed on. You can see the bottommost one is starting to separate, but it's holding, and it'll do until I figure out what else to do. And I've just got some, I think these are bok choy in here, and some onions going. And this is another bed. I've got more onions on the perimeter of the bed. Got my little cattle panel support. This is mostly a support frame for like shade cloth and things like that, but it also doubles that you can plant. This end I have sweet peas, and this end I have just regular pea peas. That sounded odd. Yeah, eating peas. Onions on both sides running along the thing. And then I did have broccoli plants planted in here, and then we got a really big huge frost and they all died. I think there's a few stragglers here and there, but I've got more broccoli going if it doesn't turn too hot here very soon. And I really want some broccoli. What you doing, Liz? All right, this is another bed that's got the cattle panel trellising. This is going to be a bed for my pepper plants, so I can use the shade cloth and keep them shaded out. Peppers like it hot, but they don't like the sun all the time. They have a lot of big problems with sun scald on the fruit. So again, I've got some onions going along the sides, and then I will probably do cucumbers on this side or that side, depending on how I feel. I may maybe do it on both sides, who knows. I've decided I'm not going to do pole beans this year because I had such a bad problem with flea beetles last year. There's another one of these white plastic barrels that I've got green onions planted around the perimeter, and then a couple of, I believe that's Napa cabbage in the center. And then there's a little bit of Roman chamomile there growing next to that cup. There was a little tree seedling growing in that cup, so I put it in that styrofoam cup to hopefully let it overwinter and come back this spring. So far it doesn't look so hot, so I may be getting rid of that and going into something else. Here's another one of those white barrels. This one's got green onions in it, and I've left the center free for whatever I decide I want to put into it. This poor little thing, this was a thyme plant that I had growing in a pot on my back deck, around the back of the house, and it got root bound, so I decided I would do a Hail Mary and put it in one of these because the root ball was just way too dense for me to think about planting it actually in the ground, especially around my place. I have maybe max 2 inches of topsoil in a lot of places, and it's been doing really well, but I think that those cold snaps back last winter zapped most of it. I mean, I've got some green coming up, but I have enough thyme plants in other spots. I'm probably going to just take this out and refill the dirt and plant something else into it. Okay, so here's my other rows, and you can kind of sort of see what I say about the basket. This one's got an open top kind of, and it's, I think, just enough shade that it doesn't let it get sunburned. This poor little guy, that's the purple tiger rose that I bought. I bought 3 bare root roses, and I was able to find spots for 2 of the 3, and this one I left in this container with dirt heaped up around the roots and kept it moist. But I was taking way too long to get it planted. It was starting to suffer, so I decided I would just put it here. I mean, I can always move it if that's the place. Luckily, I think this guy only gets like maybe 2 or 3 feet tall, so it shouldn't overcrowd it. And I've already got, this is anise hyssop along this side. It's coming back. There's the Johnny Jump Ups, like these guys. These guys are my favorites. And then I've got a row of onions over here. and then more anise hyssop and Johnny jump ups over here. So I may turn this into just a perennial type bed. I just stuck the onions in here because I did actually have plans to make this, at least the center portion, veggies, eggplants or something, but the rose beckoned and I must obey. And then here's my garlic bed again. Earlier in the video I'd shown you about, you know, the frost damage like on these guys, but I think they've snapped back. I think they're doing okay. So this is April 11th. Yesterday was my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. And so April, May, June, so probably in about 2 months or so I should be picking all this stuff. So I just keep an eye on it. So far I haven't had to water. I have not fertilized yet. I'm going to wait until rain is forecast before I broadcast some fertilizer in here and let the rain wash it in. This is the bed. It's going to be tomatoes this year, but I've got some green stuff. This is the Napa cabbage in this one. There's radishes in this little row. That is a spinach plant that overwintered, and there should be spinach in the rest of the row. I see stuff coming up this side. I'm not seeing a whole lot over here, so I may replant or may just ignore it. And then weeds. And then more bok choy, or maybe that's lettuce. Yeah, maybe lettuce. Some shallots that aren't looking that great, but we'll see. And then more Napa cabbage. Here's that barrel that had all the herbs in it from before that I cleaned out. So it's just kind of waiting for new stuff. This is a prepped area. I put this rug down. I've had this rug for about 10 years, I guess. And Pearl, with her upper respiratory infection, she had so much snot in there, and I was getting tired of cleaning it all the time, so it's easier just to mop the floors and try and get the rug shampooer out all the time. So I just brought it out to kind of use it as a weed barrier. And let's see how it's doing. See if I can pry up this end. I'd call that a success. So what I'm going to do with this section is I'm going to build another raised bed like that one, put it next to it. So that bed is a 4x6 bed, and I think the rug here is like 5x7, so there's enough overlap that I won't have weeds creeping in. So I'll do the standard, build the bed, put down cardboard, and then start filling it up. Here is the remnants of one of my tombstone beds. It still has some nice soil on it. At some point I need to shovel this up and do something else with it. And this was also another tombstone bed. Let's go over here. Sun setting. So this was another one that I started planting. There's daffodils in here, and there's daylilies over here. But this is what I mean about so there's maybe 3 inches of soil on top of the topsoil. So deep-rooted stuff just does not do well in these little tombstone things I've discovered, which is why I went to the actual classical raised beds, at least for me. Over here, at least. This is my pallet bed, and I just weed whacked not long ago. Wow, spring really makes things grow. All right, so those are my little elderberry cuttings that I'm rooting. Looks like all 5 of them are taking off. I'm going to have to figure out where I'm going to plant them, because I don't want to leave them in here to have them take over my little grape bed. This grape, I believe, is my Concord grape. Basically with Concord grapes, you cannot kill those things. This one growing up over here, let's go over here so it's a little bit less glary. This is a grape called Reliance. It's supposed to be seedless. The Concord is just a regular old Concord with seeds, but it makes good jelly. And then here's my asparagus. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's not coming up yet. So if need be, if this one doesn't come back, this one over here, I may next winter move that one over to here. So this will be more or less a permanent bed. And at least with asparagus, when they die back in the fall and I cut down all the fronds, I can put more compost on and get the soil level up a little bit higher. These are my potatoes. I have already covered these guys with soil once. I need to do it again. Some of them got touched. We got a little bit of a frost. There's a little bit right there. And look at there, there's a buckwheat coming up. Well, you little tenacious thing. But yeah, I'm gonna get some more compost, put it down so that it's fairly level with the lip of the bed. And then I'll go get some straw and put it around so the soil doesn't dry out very much. And then this is my experiment. So these are metal trash cans that have, as you can see, has started rust out. The bottoms where they were in contact with wet soil and stuff over at my parents' house, I absconded with them and then didn't really have a whole lot. I think last year I did I tried doing compost in one and it worked, but again, you can't turn the compost and things like that. So this was the area that I did sweet potatoes in the big pots that I had, the big plastic pots, and they grew. They did okay, but the ones that were in the big bed did much better size-wise than the ones in the pots. So I decided, we won't do that anymore. So I still have the cardboard down from last year, and this is just an old pallet that just happens to have little spaces for trash can size things. So what I did is, obviously these are much shorter than actual trash cans. You know, they come up to about knee height on me, which is not a lot, maybe 18, maybe 20 inches tall. And I put them down on the cardboard. I threw down soil on the bottom. I put 2 seed potatoes in each one. So it's maybe 18 inches in diameter here. And then covered them with soil. And I just did this yesterday, so I don't expect to see any sprouts or anything like that. But potatoes. And I used red Pontiac potatoes, actual seed potatoes, rather than using stuff from the grocery store, just to see if it's worth. I actually found one of my little produce stands not too far from me. In the springtime, they have, plant starts and things like that. And I saw that they had seed potatoes this year, and they had a bunch of different varieties, and this was a red variety, so I decided I'd try that one. And they sold it was like a 10-pound bag for like $8. And so I've got 16 in this bed, 2 each in those 3. So I can't do math, there's 22, and I still have some left that I'm gonna probably take over to my parents to see if we can find space in their garden. I'm sure we can. But so this is the front garden. It's growing, starting to, and probably when I do another one of these, maybe in a month or so, it's gonna be full of even more stuff. All right. Hey, baby. I'm just coming to check on your eggs. I know. So this is a killdeer. I know. Yep. Call me off. Make me come find you. Yep. So that's Mama Killdeer. I don't know where Daddy is. I think he may have succumbed to a cat. I hope not, but I haven't seen him around. But killdeer like to nest in bare soil and rocks. If I go in my driveway down here, they'll try to nest in it, but I drive off over it enough that they usually abandon the nest. Excuse me, really? All right, so I've got a bee stinging me. Come here, little bitch. Yeah, that was fun. And there are her eggs. They've been here for a couple of weeks. So, if I remember correctly, I think they maybe got another week to go. But what happens is they nested here once before. Why are you guys in such a bad mood? I mean, I'm nowhere near you. See if I feed you any more sugar syrup. Ow. Oh well, that's that apitherapy. I won't have arthritis for a few days, right? So this is the little bed. This is my little crabapple seedling. There's catnip going in like a little U shape around it. I've got some Dame's Rocket that's coming back, yarrow, and there's a whole variety of seedlings coming up. I just kind of took some of the more, I guess, what can you call them, wildflower-esque type seeds, and just kind of sprinkled them out here in February, and whatever comes back, comes back. My daffodils, still growing, still got these darn wild spring onions. Beaker, got your tongue sticking out. Yeah, I know, I'm not supposed to see it. Okay, so these are all of my seedlings that are fairly okay with chili stuff. A lot of flowers, a lot of herbs. I've got some dahlias that are coming back from their little tubers. I've got 2 different kinds of parsley, thyme, marjoram, some lavender that's coming back. This is my little pear tree that I'm trying to graft with kefir pear, scion wood, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of the rootstock is leafing out big time, but not the scion, so This is a little apple tree graft that I attempted with, I think, yeah, this is a Wolf River scion that I'm not seeing any growth on that, but it's still early days. I got some lettuce, more bok choy, and Napa cabbage. Got some borage there. I don't have a very good luck with just planting seeds of borage. I have to plant them inside and then bring them out when they're ready. And these are little mimosa seedlings that I planted from seeds this winter. And then these are cuttings of forsythia over here. And then some dwarf mulberries that unfortunately got zapped by a cold spell because I forgot to bring them in one night, but they're coming back. So plus the fact that I have way too many dwarf mulberries. I have more regular mulberry cuttings up on the back deck. Same story. I'm gonna be able to open a mulberry farm at this point. And this ladder is here because my dad fixed the siding on this side of the house. Yay. Continual growth of the irises and some of the pansies that I grew from seedlings. They're starting to come up. There's a little crocus. I got them in full flower at Walmart several weeks ago. But they're growing. We'll see if we can do a comparison. And this is the danger of hops if you don't keep track of them. They'll send out feelers and they'll root outside of where you don't want them, like this guy over right here. He's on the wrong side of the barrier, and I think it's probably grown about a foot since last week when I first filmed this one. So even if you don't like beer, you don't like hops or anything, you know, to make teas and stuff like that, it is kind of an acquired taste. But even if you just use it as a screen, privacy screen, or a shade screen, it grows. More footprints, kitty cat footprints through the new bed. We have to have a little coming to Jesus talk here, kids. My dad was just out here mowing. You can see how tall the grass was. I have to go back with a weed whacker. Rose is still doing well. Wow, it really gets dark when you're out of the sunshine. In this bed over here, I actually have planted my peppers in for the last couple of years, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do them up front and use the shade cloth, and I may do figs in here. I have to see. I'll have to go and check and see how much actual sunlight figs need to be productive, because this is the east side of the house, once that sun goes over, it gets a little dark up here against the thing. I need to put in compost. But yeah, I may do figs over here. Okay, 2 ducks fighting on the pond. That's just wrong. Actually, they may be making whoopee. You never know. It is the time of the year. Baptisia. Baptisia's growing out. I have to get in here with a weed whacker because it's like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom in there otherwise. But see what I mean about having the siding, making it a little bit easier to keep the weeds down. So, all right, well, that's about it. Oh, and I had another bee swarm on me yesterday. I wasn't at home, and I came home, found them. They were just way too high up in the tree, and I had already been doing some stuff out in my parents' garden, so I just was not in the mood to climb up on a ladder and try and rescue darn bees. So it got down to about 35 last night, and they were still up in the tree this morning. I've since gone back. I went back a few hours later, and they had already gone. So wherever you are, bees, vaya con Dios. Hope you make it. All right, well, that's it. I think I'll finish this video once and for all and get it uploaded. It's probably going to be about an hour and a half long, considering it's got 2 different weeks worth of videos. And I may still split it up. We'll see. Depends on how I feel. Oh, and I don't know if I shot the last part of this video a week ago, before or after I pulled out my big rosemary plant, but she's gone on the burn pile. I've got to cut these stems off from there's more Greek oregano coming up. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put another rosemary here when it gets a little bit bigger. And another rosemary. I've got 3 cuttings. So I'll do 1, 2, and I may put 1 in a pot. I may try doing it that way. And that way I can leave that on the back deck in case we get another humdinger of a winter. And there's Beaker. Beaker says, I don't care. Alright guys, well, I will talk to you next time I have the oomph to make another video. Bye guys.